Hey guys, I'm going to do a video here partly about the news from today, but I'm really going to connect it to much more important and relevant theme, and that is the role of the media. So, two totally unrelated stories that I think lean into that. First, everybody keeps asking us which side we're on. Even if they're not physically asking us that, or literally asking us that, it's implicit in the questions that they're directing our way. Well, I mean, do you want Trump to win? No, I don't want Trump to win, and I'm progressive and I'm very honest about that. But that doesn't mean that I have to praise Hillary Clinton. The implicit assumption there is if you have to pick a side, you have to be on one side, and if you're on one side, you shouldn't be honest about that side. You should just praise them, right or wrong, truth or lies. It doesn't matter. Or the flip side. Oh, you just want Hillary to win. That's why you're criticizing Trump. No, I'm criticizing Trump because he merits a tremendous amount of criticism. So that's why I'm criticizing him. And so now we've got the some of the Bernie or Bust guys who are mad at us every time we criticize Trump, which I find mind bending because Bernie Sanders also criticizes Trump. Bernie Sanders says he's voting for Hillary Clinton. Bernie Sanders is supporting Hillary Clinton way more than we are. We're going out and make videos every day criticizing her on the things she needs to be criticized on. He's not doing that, and no disrespect to him. Okay, I think he's doing what he can and what he thinks is wise. But so we don't support Sanders enough, even though Sanders, I guess under that logic, doesn't support himself enough. Okay. Anyway, I want to move on from that because I think you guys get it. What we're trying to do is present the news in the best way that we can, be as honest with you as we can, including about our perspective. Yes, we're progressives. Yes, I do not like Trump. I think he would be a danger to the Republican, to the world. But that doesn't mean I have to love other people. That my vote doesn't mean I love someone. It means they are not quite as bad as the other guy, and you want to have a disagreement about that, that's fine. Okay, so that's one thing. The second thing is the bombings in New York and New Jersey today. We're told by the authorities that they are not connected. Okay, I don't know how you determine that so quickly. The bombing in New Jersey seemed to happen during the day, and the bombing in New York just happened at night. They're both in. One was in a garbage can in New Jersey. The other one was in a garbage dumpster in New York. And then, more curious, the New York authorities say that it was intentional, but there are no remaining threats to or no credible threats to the city. But you don't have a suspect, as far as we can tell. You haven't told us you caught anybody. How would you know there are no further threats to the city if you haven't caught the guy who did it? How did you determine so early on in one day that they are not connected? Two bombings coincidentally on the same day with very similar MO are not connected. How are you so sure of that? Now, do I say that because I think that there is something else afoot? I don't know. I have no theory on it at all. Again, people assume I have a theory on it. I don't. How would I know who the hell did it, right? But it is the job of the media, if you think the media is genuine, which is the main point I want to get to in a second, to question the government. It's not the job of the media to go, oh, the authorities say, yep, no, there's no threat left anymore at all, and they haven't caught the guy, but they're sure that there's no threat at all. They haven't caught the guy, but they're positive that it has no connection to the bombings in New Jersey. No, our job is supposed to be, if we're doing it right and you really believe in the independent media, to question the government and go, wait, that story doesn't seem to make much sense. It could if you give me more evidence on it, but right now, based on the evidence you've given me, not buying it. Okay, so I'm not seeing a lot of that in the media. I'm just seeing, as usual, whatever the authorities say is what people report, and that's it. Okay, so now let's get to the main event on this. Look, the media in the past has been mainly twofold. Let's talk about outside of America and then inside of America, America slash the West, right? Outside of America, for an overwhelming majority of the time that the media has existed, and sure, all forms of the media, radio, television as well, but a radio and newspaper as well, but mainly television, has been state-run. So if you're not familiar with that, of course, no Soviet Union, but in almost all the countries in the Middle East. That's why Al Jazeera was so successful in the Middle East initially. Because I remember when Al Jazeera took over Current, some people still have the theory that we were bought by, the Young Turks was bought by Al Jazeera. No, the Young Turks used to do a show on Current. We chose not to do a show with Al Jazeera, partly because I saw their management and couldn't believe they had success anywhere. I specifically referring to Al Jazeera America, and I was proven fairly right about that. So when I looked into how in the world were these guys ever successful anywhere, well, the answer was obvious. They had no competition. So it was all state-run governments, media in the Middle East. So when Al Jazeera, also run by a state, Qatar, but not the state that of all those different countries. So if you were in Egypt, all you had was Egyptian-run government TV, and now all of a sudden Al Jazeera comes in and gives a slightly different perspective. You're like, whoa, look at this, right? So now that gives you a sense of the context of the world. So and hence that media was not meant to inform people. It was meant to control people. So we are taught what is a good ideal. I don't want to call it mythology because it is a good ideal and it's an ideal I want to live up to. That the media is supposed to challenge the government, freedom of the press, and press is very important. And I believe that our founding fathers truly believe that, and I think that's why we have a great constitution and a great ideals of America. Now, but for most of the world, no. Media is not against control. It is a form of control. That is the whole point of the media in so many parts of the world. Now, when we turn to America, that's where a lot of people here would get smug and go, oh, see, that's why we're so much better than the rest of the world. Please, right? No. Think about our media. In order to have a television network or a television station, well, for a network, you really needed billions of dollars. So by definition, the people who run the television networks are the incredibly wealthy and the incredibly powerful, or inside a corporation that is incredibly wealthy and powerful and serve that interest. It's not a conspiracy because it doesn't have to be one. Power naturally protects itself. So if you're a multi-billion-dollar organization, what are you going to do? You're going to protect yourself. And if you are already powerful, well, that means this system helped you. You like the status quo. You love the status quo. You don't want to rock that boat. It's your boat. So the guys who run the corporations never had to tell the TV executives who didn't have to tell the TV anchors to not rock the boat. It was implicit in every action that they made because of who they are and what they were doing. So here, let me make it more material for you. A TV executive that is protecting an entity, a project, a company worth billions of dollars is not going to hire a radical, is not going to hire an activist, he's not going to hire anyone who might take down the value of his billions of dollars. That's just normal. That's human nature. That's what everybody would do. I can't imagine anybody would disagree with that. So they are incentivized by the very definition of what they are in America and what the amount of resources that was required to protect the status quo. So they hire guys down the line who do that. And the magic trick is that they hire them because they protect the status quo, so they don't have to bother telling them to protect the status quo. So, look, I actually do feel a little bad picking on Wolf Blitzer, but he's so illustrative of this example that I've got to do it in this case. Now, is Wolf Blitzer a magnetic personality? is he there to electrify the audience? Or perhaps is he there to do the opposite, to make sure that the audience is not electrified, it is docile? So Wolf Blitzer is the one guy that you've seen on TV for at least the last 20 years. The guy can't get off of TV. He has a situation room that is approximately 18 hours a day for 18 straight years. So a slight exaggeration, obviously, but if you've seen CNN, not by much. So why does Wolf Blitzer get picked if he is not somebody that is naturally electrifying to the audience? Because you know that Wolf is not going to rock the boat. And he's shown you for decades that he's not going to rock the boat. That's why he keeps his job. So now, but the thing is, to be fair to Wolf Blitzer, he doesn't know that. They call the people on air, on television, quote unquote, talent. If you ask Wolf, I mean, I'm sure he's a humble guy, a modest guy. He's not going to say he's enormously talented, but if you really press him on it, he'd be like, well, why am I on TV? Because I'm really good. I'm a great anchor. That's why I'm talent. That's why I'm on TV. That's not why he's on TV. So if you wanted someone who was really talented in bringing in an audience, really? You'd pick all the tepid guys that are anchors on television right now? Okay, no you wouldn't. Of course you wouldn't. If you wanted to protect the status quo, you would pick exactly people like Wolf Blitzer. Hey, everybody be calm. Everybody be calm. So in a sense, our media is also a form of control. So, but it's a ghost. Those words never have to be spoken. They don't have to be communicated, because it is in the selection process that you've already made those decisions based on your obvious and unspoken self-interest. Nobody who benefits this much from the system wants to overturn this system. And the media that we have been fed for almost all of our lives is a form of control. Now, the title of this video is why the internet is so monumentally important. So let's get to that. You see, on the internet, you are not controlled by the government, and you also don't need billions of dollars to get started. Aha. So now we might have a voice that represents people who are not the rich and powerful, who do not want to protect the status quo. In fact, would like to undo the status quo. You see why the internet is monumentally important. So, look, some of you like our show. There are certainly a lot of folks who don't, right? And that's okay. Everybody's got their opinions. But we, whether you believe it or not, and bless your heart if you don't, but we are truly independent media. So we don't have to answer to anybody. We don't have to answer to a giant multinational corporation. We don't have to answer to a government. We chose not to do either one of those things. I left MSNBC partly for that reason. We didn't join Al Jazeera America partly for that reason. So that is why I think that this program has worked as well as it has. And I got a shirt on now that says Young Turks 1 billion views strong, right? This is from a couple of years ago. We just crossed 5 billion about a month ago, less than a month ago. Why? Because if you put us up against the CNNs of the world, whose job is to be so boring and present such an insider point of view that it protects the billions of dollars invested into that organization by just the infrastructure of that system, and you have us, or anyone like us. It could be people like us, and there are others as well. And if you like their style or you like their opinions better, great, go support them. And I say that really super positively, because my opinions don't have to be the right ones. Well, then, we've got an incentive to actually tell you the truth. And then you go, oh, okay, if one guy is trying to the best of his abilities to give me the truth, and the other guy is trying to the best of his abilities to hide the truth from me and to protect the powerful, and other guys trying to the best of his abilities to look out for me, well, gee, who am I going to watch? So you see why old media is screwed. It's because of this thing right next to me, this thing called the internet. So it's a whole new world, man. I don't know. We've got to protect the internet with everything we've got, because that is the last battle. If they take that down, then we're back under control. And they don't want us literally out of control, right? And I'm not pushing people to be out of control in the other way, where we're like, running around in the streets, right? But this system is not set up to help you guys. This system has been crafted over the years to help the people who are already powerful. And so I don't say that like everybody who's in power is bad guys. Wolf Blitzer's certainly not a bad guy. I don't know him at all, but I assume, right? And he's not doing it on purpose. He's not malicious. It's not any of that. It's a system. It's a machine, right? And so, but I can point to you the specific rules that have been changed to protect the powerful. So the most obvious one, the one I talk about, the reason I started Wolfpack in the first place, that's a super PAC to get money out of politics, whereas all other super PACs are to get money into politics, is because they changed the rules so that you can basically buy government officials so that they will represent the donors, who are the wealthy and the powerful, and not represent you guys. So I can point you to Supreme Court decisions, Buckley v. Vallejo, Bellotti, then obviously Citizens United, etc., that killed our democracy. I can point you to legislation that twisted the rules so that corporations pay less taxes and you and I pay more taxes. So it's not personal. That's exactly what the powerful would always do by definition. And they have done it. And so what we need to do is fight back. And because of the internet, we can actually have a media that lives up to the ideals of what a media is supposed to be, according to our Constitution, to challenge the government, to challenge the powerful, to afflict the powerful, not to give them comfort. And so TV is not built for that because of the nature of what they are and how much it costs. So in the old days, they were used to control us. In the new days, I hope, if I'm right about all this, that they are monumentally screwed. And so up and at 'em, guys. Up and at 'em. It's time for change. So it's time for change in the media. That's what I think we're doing with the Young Turks. It's also time to change the government and that system that has been set up against you. Your gut feeling, whether you're a conservative, a liberal, libertarian, moderate, doesn't matter. Your gut feeling that you've been screwed is generally correct. It's not because that they're evil henchmen or global conspiracies. It is the nature of power. And so the powerful move the tax codes to their advantage. Your productivity in America has been wonderful. I can show you charts. I've showed charts about this many times in the past on the Young Turks. But your wages have been stagnant since around the late 1970s, early 1980s, because of those Supreme Court decisions, Bellotti and Buckley v. Vallejo that I told you about. And so that's how they rigged the system. And it costs you trillions of dollars in wages. Your gut instincts are correct. So we don't have to get mad and grab pitchforks and be against any particular individuals. But what we do need to do is rise up and change the system back. And there was a democracy in this country, and it was wonderful. Ralph Nader was so strong, he got Richard Nixon to actually protect us. EPA, OSHA, seatbelts, all these things were done. Now, even if you don't agree with progressives, what you should agree with is democracy, where we could have a real debate about whether conservatives or liberals are right about any particular issues, right? And you don't have that in the corrupt system that we have now. So we've got to uncorrupt it. We got to unpoison the media, and that's what we're trying to do with the Young Turks. And you've got to uncorrupt the government. And the way you do that is you get free and fair elections. You get an amendment, which is the revolution. Okay, that is what a revolution is. You change the system. How do you change our system? You don't have to grab pitchforks. You got to get an amendment. An amendment actually rewrites the code. And the Founding Fathers wanted us to do that. That's why they gave us several ways to do it. They didn't want you to pick up muskets. They wanted you to amend the Constitution. That's why they put it into the Constitution that you can and you should amend it. So we can get the money out of politics. We can bring free and fair elections back. We can bring democracy back. And partly because of this thing, the internet. And partly because the media, to some degree, has begun to be freed from its masters. These are exciting times. But let's make sure that this revolution goes in the right direction, not the wrong direction. The media goes in the right direction. Our government goes in the right direction. Let's reclaim it so that it is, in fact, our government. So if you haven't seen or heard of Wolfpack before, please check it out. These guys are brave warriors. I founded it, but it's the over 32,000 volunteers on the ground that are making it happen. I had a call today with them, and it went so great. I talked to some of the legends who got the fifth state on the board recently, Rhode Island. One of them is literally nicknamed the Legend. Another one's the Godfather. And so the Big Swag. And in Illinois, there's Murray the Merciless. There's all these wonderful guys who bust their ass, who are not professional politicians or lobbyists, but they are making change happen. So don't let anybody ever tell you that it's not possible. So that's what they want you to do so that you are controlled. Break out of their control, change the system so that it works for us again, and so that we have democracy in America again. So I urge you to volunteer at wolf-pack.com. But if you can't volunteer, do whatever you can. And if you believe in the Young Turks, thank you. Help us do that. Be the Young Turks. But most importantly, join Wolfpack, support Wolfpack. And okay, one last thing about that. It's not just to plug it, guys. I'm trying to tell you how the system works and why we're trying to fight back against it the way that we have been. Which is that we fund both the Young Turks and Wolfpack by donations of $10 a month, generally speaking, you give more, etc. But that way, we are beholden to you. Instead of being beholden to a giant corporation, instead of being beholden to the government, we're beholden to the people we should be beholden to. In the case of the Young Turks, it's the audience. In the case of Wolfpack, it's the citizens. So that way, hopefully, you will avoid institutional corruption. That way you can get the media back. You can change the media to what it's supposed to be. That way you can get your government back. Because there's a great article I read, again, that triggered a lot of these thoughts. John Cusack was actually a huge liberal, wonderful liberal, if you're into that sort of thing, and I am. And was talking to Arundhati Roy, and she's a radical. She's from India. And but I say radical in a very positive light here. And she talked about how a lot of the groups, once they start getting funded by the very wealthy, become what she calls the tamed tigers, the feckless resistance. And they are paid to be feckless. Again, they don't know it. They're in a play. They're actors in a play, yet they don't know that the play exists, just like the TV anchors. So if you are funded by the incredibly wealthy, that is what will happen to you. Almost again, by definition, because of how that structure is set up and how the system maintains itself. But if you're funded $10 at a time from you guys, well, then they can't control us. I literally had somebody threaten us at Wolfpack, tell us, oh yeah, what if we go after your donors? I said, have at it, Hoss. They're all over the country. It's Bob from Nebraska. It's Sally from Connecticut. You want to go try to get their $10? Go for it. See, that gives us a power that they don't understand and can't comprehend and don't know how to deal with. A power that actually fights for you guys because we're funded by you guys. So if you think there's a better way, bless your heart. If you disagree politically with the Young Turks, then set up your own media and come challenge us, beat us, do whatever you need to do. Just don't be part of that system. Be part of the independent media, right? And Wolfpack's totally nonpartisan. It's not about liberal, conservative, moderate. It's about getting our democracy back. And 90% of Americans know the very obvious fact that money is corrupting politics. These people aren't giving millions, in fact, billions of dollars for their health. Multinational corporations don't have an idea. They don't have policies. They don't have debates, okay? It's a machine. All they care about is their self-interest. The reason they're giving billions of dollars to politicians is because they would like the politicians to do what they want so they can get a return on investment. And if you're a conservative, you know that's how it works. That's called crony capitalism. So let's all band together and fight against that. You want to fight in a different way than Wolfpack? Great. Fund your organization, hopefully in an honest way. But look, and I don't want people to take this the wrong way, then think that if someone ever gets a big amount of money, that's it, they're 100% corrupt. And so that's where I'm not very liberal. And so, again, I'm trying to be as honest with you guys as possible. So I think that you can take that money and hold on to your principles, but don't get seduced by it, because because that is normal. You've got to fight that. And if in the long run you set up your incentive structure that you're only taking big money, well, then your incentives over the long run, no matter who's running the organization, will get perverted, right? Especially if you're a public corporation, then you can't make independent decisions. You have to make decisions based on the stock market and profit motive. Otherwise, you will be removed and the board will put someone else in. But if you're a private corporation or you're a private entity or a PAC, yes, as long as there are no strings attached, you can take big money, but I wouldn't set up the organization that way. I would set it up like we have, so that you are not dependent on that money. You are dependent on the people alone. So that's our ideas. If you like it, that's great. Then support us. But that's not what this is about. I read all these things today, and I connected them in my mind, and I wanted to share that with you guys, so you know how the media actually works, and also the good news about how it can work in this new age. So let's go get them, and either be part of us or do it yourself. Be the media, be the change.